On. Good morning, everybody. This is Joe Sonona with Sonona Speaks Seminars, and this is Coffee Talk with the Listing Pros in Real Estate. And my guest this week is Michael Alexander Omedes of Michael Alexander Properties. How are you, Michael?
I'm doing great, Joe. How are you guys doing? Hope everyone's safe and comfy over there.
Everybody's great. Thanks for asking.
Good.
So I want to give a nice, huge introduction to this gentleman right here. First and foremost, Michael and I met in all full disclosure. How many years ago, Mike?
About seven plus.
No, 7 years ago. Wow, it's been 7 years already. Yep. And we met at Hofstra University. Michael was my student, and he took the pre-licensing class, passed the class, went on to become a top performing agent in a real estate office out in Port Jefferson. And then how many years now you've been a broker owner?
Just under 2 years, but we officially opened and launched this location about a year and 2 months ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now I can officially say on camera how proud I am of this gentleman. So tell me a little bit about yourselves. Tell everybody a little bit about yourselves before we get into the listing questions.
Yeah. So in terms of the brokerage, or in terms of how I got into real estate?
Anything. Everything.
All right. So I'll give you a quick rundown. So yeah, like a lot of your guests, I'm sure, I grew up in a little bit of a real estate family. My aunts were broker owners of a boutique luxury firm in Manhattan and East Hampton. And I kind of grew up bouncing around in those offices, got some great exposure to some really cool listings, and a great experience as a kid. When I graduated high school, they gave me an opportunity to intern with the brokerage in Manhattan. That was a very unique experience, seeing how $5 million plus properties are listed, managed, and sold was a great experience. But being the blue collar North Shore guy that I am, my calling was really for Long Island, North Shore, and I came back to the island where I went to Hofstra, like you said, and I met the 2017 Realtor of the Year, who gave me a great education on what it is to be a
realtor. I wasn't expecting that one.
Yeah, but by the way, where is that award? You don't. I figured that'd be front and center right now.
Right here. You want to see? You want me to get it?
Yeah,
I'll get it.
Yeah,
I'll get it. I'll get it right here. And by the way, you gave me more years than I thought, less years than I thought when I received this. It's Broker of the Year 2014.
2014. Okay. Wow.
2014 it's been, right?
Yeah, you're an OG. You've been doing it for some time now, Joe.
This is my Oscar, everybody.
Do you carry that on you when you go to listing appointments?
Do I carry
it? Put that, you just plant that front and center at the listing appointments and say, hey, how are you?
My goodness, if I planted this in front of everybody's face, I think I wouldn't get any listings.
Yeah, I don't know about that. But,
no, but it's a good honor, and that honor I'm going to give to you because you're my broker of the year for having such a successful career so far and for opening up your own office, which is not too there's not too many people that can say what you're saying or about to say right now, because there's a lot of agents out there that I have taught in schools that's still working in brokerage offices. And you took a very, very big leap of faith. All right, so go back to the beginning.
No, so, I have to give credit where credit's due, and I have to tell you, this would never have happened if I didn't, after I left Hofstra, I went and worked in Port Jefferson for, in my opinion, the best broker on Long Island. Everybody knows somebody that they really admire in the industry, and I working at. Can I say it?
Go right ahead. She's our friend. Why not?
Yeah, working under Jolie Powell at Jolie Powell Realty was was the foundation for everything that I do now. So I'm very appreciative for that, and having a chance to see how that office operated as a boutique, as an independent brokerage, the market share that they have, competing against the big guys, the way that they really created their own footprint. Was so impressive, and that kind of comes full circle to where I am now. And seeing how Jolie herself conducted herself and managed the office was, to me, is just a lifetime worth of education in the industry. So kind of took all of those different pieces and my philosophies, kind of engineered what we have here today, which is Michael Alexander Properties.
Absolutely. What a success story this is for you. And, many, many, many good years of welcoming customers and clients to that office. It's such a beautiful office, and it's right in the heart. Can you give us a location?
Yeah, so we're in Centerport, which a lot of people are wondering, where's Centerport? We're right smack dab in the middle of Northport and Huntington. Centerport.
Nice.
And,
nice.
We kind of, along with the other brokers from Cold Spring Harbor to Northport, we all kind of work the same general area. There's several harbors right there, all beach and boating communities, great villages. I could tell you all about it, but I just adore it here. I live here. So I'm really invested in this area. And, we decided there was an opportunity here to take a space down the block. I ride my bike to work, and I love it. I just love it here.
That's awesome. That really is awesome.
Yeah.
So what was your previous background before real estate?
I juggled a lot of things like a lot of different people. I worked in medical billing. I worked in carpentry. I owned a swimming pool company. I mean, I was about as hands-on a guy as you could be. And for me, and then real estate again before that with my aunts. But, I bounced around. And by the time I was 30, I just said, hey, this is where I want to be. It's time to focus on one thing. This is what I'm best at. So let's kind of cut the other stuff out and focus on real estate.
Would you say that's your secret sauce to listing properties is your work ethic?
If I had to pick one thing that was the secret sauce for me, and it's the secret sauce for every part of the business for me, it's not really, we don't really work with, there's no gimmicks and things like that. It's more what you said. It's more of a, what are the virtues there? For me, the most important thing that we can do is to build relationships with people, real relationships, and then we worry about the other stuff later. So developing relationships with the community, having an altruistic approach, charity, anything we can do to help type mentality, and then the business hopefully will come in once they see that you're really there for the community. So they go hand in hand, and that's kind of our approach.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. So tell me, what kind of technology do you use on your listing presentations or for your listings?
This is pretty funny, but I think this will probably help because I know a lot of your guests are very tech savvy, and I know you know me, and you know that we're a very retro brokerage. I wouldn't say traditional. I would just say very retro. I have seldom gone into a living room with a binder with our offerings, our photography, and this, that, and the other. We have a highly referral-based business. Whether it's buyers or sellers, they're usually coming downline through the pipeline, friends of friends, family of family. And now the community I consider friends and family. We're getting calls, and so building on a foundation of relationships has really helped us to have to really connect with people before we ever have to sit down and present. So in terms of technology for listing appointments and things, the secret sauce, like I said, all the equity was up front. We made relationships with these people. We show them what we can do on listings. We come prepared, ready, willing, and able to sell, and we sell them. That's
awesome.
Yeah.
And do you say, your history, do you ride on your laurels? Do you have relationships now in real estate that more so than you've ever had because you're a broker owner, or is that coming just from the agent side?
It's helped a lot. It depends. I think of myself as an agent first. We don't manage a big office here. It's me and another agent. We're super boutique office. We're looking to obviously bring in more people, but for me right now, I'm very satisfied with what I do for me as an agent and my agent, what he does for himself as an agent. In broker to broker relationships, it helps a lot to be the broker. There's no perks or anything like that. It's just a matter more of maybe trust. It's easier for me to maybe schedule a listing on short notice or send a client somewhere where it's difficult to access, but there's a trust factor there now because they know that I have something at stake in the community.
So let's talk about advice that you would give to somebody coming straight from real estate school into the business, and we'll start with the new person and then go to the more seasoned agent. What advice would you give to a new agent coming into the business?
So all the things that
I know.
Yeah. For me though, listen, we're not into gimmicks and things like that. A lot of people, here's the best piece of advice I can give you. My belief is that, you look at profits, right? you don't want to be in the red. You don't want to spend a lot up front in order. Someone can spend $50,000 on their marketing and earn $50,000 at the end of the year with 5 transactions. They feel like they did a lot. They got a great experience, but they spent all that time that they could have been doing at the beach, enjoying themselves, whatever it is that they like, paying into another industry that's supposedly supporting them. For me, starting right from the beginning, very grassroots campaigns. Make sure you go to your network instantly. Who's your family? Your family has to know. You make an announcement to your friends through social media. You send a community a flyer, whatever it is, let them know you're in real estate. Build as many connections within the industry as you can. If you have a mentor like a Joe Sonona at your disposal, contact them, get your education up, everything that you can to build organically from the center of your core out before you start to focus on cold leads. So for me, my business model has always been the same from day one as it is now. We've added a few cold lead things here and there, mailers and whatnot, but it's expensive. You're going to spend $1,000 on a mailer to go out to 2,000 homes. I wouldn't say start there. I would say start, get a listing, learn on the listing, get a buyer, learn with that buyer, and spend time building grassroots relationships. You really want that artisan, organic approach.
I'm a new agent. How long does it take to build?
Well, that's the thing. For me, it kind of worked like this. 2 deals your first year, 4 deals your second year, 8 deals your third year. And then, hopefully you continue to scale your business that way. Relationships, warm leads are the best way to do that. The best way to keep your costs down, the best way to, to work a nice, easy schedule. Those are all the things you envision for yourself. A nice, easy schedule. I mean, nobody really has a nice, easy schedule. You got to love what you do. But for me, I want a nice schedule that I put together to work with people who are like-minded home buyers and home sellers like myself. And the best way to do that is to scale a business through relationships from the beginning. If you're constantly looking for the low-hanging fruit and you're spending big bucks on marketing, you're always going to be stuck with the low-hanging fruit, right? I want to build those relationships. I want to see those through, and I want to sell their home the second time around. So that's what I focus on. And picture this. You do 4 deals your second year. 5 years later, those four deals might be ready to sell. Depending on how you scaled your business, if you're fortunate enough to keep a good relationship with them, and they've had a good experience with you, just add 4 deals to your roster in 5-6 years down the line. It's going to work that way. And that's what the best agents do. And that's kind of what
a new agent listening to this would say to you or ask both of us, since we're both agents, we're always real estate agents, right? Even though we're brokers, we're always going to be a real estate agent. How does one get started in the business? How does one develop this into a listing? Because if the new agent out there is listening to this right now, that's the question they're asking. Like, how do I get started? How do I even begin this business, this industry?
Well, I would say, again, if you're going to listen, the guys who run the really big businesses that are out there on the, I'm not going to name the marketing sites, but they have the zip codes, they have all those things. That's not really your arena to start, in my opinion. That's not how I started.
Are you talking about Pillow and Julia?
Yes. Okay, you can spend $300. Listen, you can spend exactly. You can spend $300, $500 a month on there, and nobody cares. In my opinion, when you first start, it's the big guys who have 50 reviews on there. Everyone's going to go with them. Listen, start off your business by linking up. All right, here's an example. You work at a big franchise. There's 100 agents there. Make an impression on a big agent. Let them know you're going to have to put some elbow grease in the beginning. Get on their good side and ask them if you can cover their open houses. The first deal I ever did, I covered an open house. Buyer came in. There was no objections. They loved the home. I worked that deal for them. And from that point forward, I now had established, okay, I've done a deal. You know what I mean? It's nice to get that first one out of the way. But again, if you want to get your foot in the door with something, go through open houses, go through somebody in your brokerage, ask if you can take a buyer, whatever it is you have to do to stay away from spending a big budget. That's really the point I'm trying to drive home.
Yeah. And a lot of agents think that because they're going to buy those warm leads, they're really buying buyer leads, number one. And number two, how many leads can a person have in their hand before it slips through their fingers?
Right. Totally.
Especially with no experience, nobody to guide them through. Very few agents begin in this business with no mentors, like you said, and no, the managers, the brokers who run those big offices or even the smaller offices. I find there's not too much attention on that agent, maybe because, the broker is just too busy with their own business to build up their business. But you're a little bit more hands-on with your agent, and you're you're always there for them. You're always there to answer a question or two. And then you developed your philosophy years ago. I remember as you were building, you were also leaning on your broker at that time. And then you were also leaning on people that were around you that were in the business, myself included, right? And
Yeah.
I think that's the secret. I think that's the secret for new agents, is to surround yourselves with a lot of people that can help you develop those habits.
It's a very warm community. People don't understand. And whether they work at another brokerage, an agent, a broker can call me anytime. I don't care where you work. I'm looking at, if they succeed, we succeed, right? We just want more inventory. Right. I want more relationships. That doesn't really matter. And that culture is, is valued at a lot of different brokerages as well. So there's no excuse for you not to find somebody who you can link up, an accountability buddy, whatever it is, that can set you off with some on the right foot. But for me, yeah, like I said, if for some reason you can't find that, you're not going to just wait around until you get a warm lead. Volume is a good thing too. I had a lot of experience I learned through a lot of trial and error. I spent plenty of my first year driving around to 100 showings with cold leads, and they may leave you in the end. But guess what? At the end of that, I had the experience. I knew how to access properties. I knew how to deal with, all the expenses that I had and all the letdowns that I had to experience. And that kind of propelled me to, all right, I'm going to shape it up. I'm going to do it differently this time. Now I'm going to build my business around it this way. So spend time with doing volume in the beginning, and you'll shape a better business for yourself in the future. But you will succeed. You really do have to.
Now, what advice would you give to a seasoned agent?
A seasoned agent listen, if you're crushing it, whatever you do, whether it's referrals or you just have, your finger on the pulse of great marketing, then I would say continue whatever it is that you're doing. In order to scale yourself, the best way that I did it was I never changed course. I never bought into the gimmicks. I'm not a big supporter of the industries that support our industry. For me, I want to work from the inside out. So for me, for a seasoned agent, I would just say, take a look at your books. Make sure you're not spending $100,000 on marketing to earn $150,000. What can you do to shape that up? Last year we cut out 50% of our marketing budget, and it made no difference whatsoever to our volume, none. So I think that's probably the biggest thing for me is low overhead. I love that idea, low overhead, and that's kind of how I've increased my revenues, because that's really all it is at the end. I just want those profits at the end, to be in the green, and the best way to do that is to trim the fat.
And what do you think the future of real estate's going to be like, post COVID-19? Here we are in this pandemic still, and by the time this program airs, we hope that there will be a cure. But let's say there is no cure, or what does real estate look like in a post COVID-19 environment?
I'll tell you what my experience is. Right now, we have a tremendous rush. We're in Huntington, right? We have a tremendous rush of New York City buyers coming out. I mean, a rush, more than ever. So, we were a little bit concerned in the beginning. There was a little fear of the unknown. Right now, that fear has subsided. We are backlogged with buyer bookings. There is a low inventory that we have right now. So I think it's going to be about convincing sellers to get back on the market. And when they do, you're going to have some tech tools at your disposal. You're going to have great virtual tours. You're going to have great correspondence through your phone. Responsiveness is key. Buyers are ready, willing, and able to go at the drop of a hat. And especially buyers coming in from Manhattan, this is an easier market for them. So they're used to, being prepared within 24 hours. On the broker end, I really think it's important that you just have everything buttoned up. Your virtual tour available. Your phone has to be on and charged. You can't be lazy right now, and you're gonna kill it. I think it's.
What about open houses? What do you think they're gonna look like?
I was just thinking about that actually. The virtual open house for me, I'm not that impressed with it right now. I think that the private virtual tour is just the same. It does the same thing. So for me, I think eventually we're probably going to have a limited amount of people in the house at one time. If you have a hot listing, gloves, masks coming in at 50%, or maybe one or two groups at a time, and that'll be what it'll be. But it'll loosen up, and I think we'll be back to more traditional open house at some point.
Now, as a broker owner, are you going to revamp your policies as well with COVID-19, post-COVID-19? Tell me a little bit about what you're thinking. I know you haven't, implemented them yet, but What do you think should be a policy for a broker owner?
Right now, you have to really keep up with it's not up to us, right? New York State is putting out the guidelines for us, and we have to be up with that. I think,
Right.
if anything, it's going to be about educating your agents instead of kind of having that Friday follow up about, things that are going to change. And usually once a year, there's something, pertinent that's worthwhile that we have to make an adjustment. We have to make adjustments on the fly now. So I think education of your agents, compliance, liability are all things that I'm definitely concerned about. And in order to be safe on that, we're just making sure that we are not pioneering any kind of new, first person strategies. We're just there doing virtual tours. And that's pretty much where we're at right now. I think going forward, it's just going to be about being very, being compliant.
And do you think that there are agents that will easily adapt to that? Or do you think that there are some agents, like people that have been in the business, that I keep hearing the same thing going on with listings? Can I show you a listing? Can I show you a listing? Yeah. Even with the ESD guidelines, they still don't get it, that we can't show the listings. But, this is a listings program. And when we go on listing presentations in the future, what do you think that's going to look like?
You're right. I think listing presentations in the future, there's not going to be many restrictions there. You'll be able to get into the home and you'll be able to have that discussion, I'm hoping.
But what's the discussion going to be like? I'm sorry, that should have been my question. What is the new discussion with the owners going to look like? Or what do you think you're going to ask? I know what I'm asking. I'll share it with you.
I'd love to know. I'd love to know what you're asking, actually, because we're all going through this together. I think for me.
Okay, I'll share it with you.
Go first?
Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, I think it's important to know that even though, let's say, this pandemic has subsided and the curve is down, we're still susceptible to, susceptible. I gotta learn that word. We're still subject to some worry here. Some fears, both on the buyer end, both on your end, my end. Yeah. Like you said, liability is going to play here. Who's to say that a buyer isn't a carrier? Who's to say the seller isn't a carrier, or myself? So I'm going to take every necessary precaution with the COVID-19 disclosures. Yep. I'm also going to have my indemnification agreements for liability to waive all liability from both the buyer and the seller on my end. And I'm also going to take every precaution to maybe do a virtual open house as, shoot more of a professional open house. I have a vendor company that is ready for me, standing by, and I'll share it with you, off camera. I'll share the vendor with you in case you want to take that a virtual tour first, rather than crowd the front door with all these people coming in. Because, like it or not, I mean, let's say we have a line of about 40, 50 people outside the door. It's still going to be a panic. It's still going to be a risk for that buyer to come in. I don't know if anybody's going to wear masks, booties, and gloves. I think that I showed it yesterday in one of my classes that I think everybody's going to carry around a bottle of Purell. And I think the listing presentation has to be a little bit more or have a component or an added safety measure to it.
No doubt about it.
To protect the homeowner. And then they'll say, well, how is everybody going to be showing the property? I think the homeowner is probably going to have to stand aside and not be present for the showings. Absolutely. And we're going to have to take on a greater role to accompany now the buyer, whereas we would send buyers with agents. And I think the agent role is going to have to be a little bit more souped up.
No doubt. I mean, I agree with everything you said. And I think that the two concerns, so we just took a listing. The concern that they have was, yes, obviously about the market, but I would say besides that, about safety for sure, 100%. They don't want to exit their home. They don't want a representative not being in the home when the buyers are in the home. You understand that COVID disclosure, and the buyers come in, they leave the door open, they close it. That doesn't fly with everybody. And so that's definitely a concern. But I will tell you, as things start to settle down, most people are recognizing that there is an issue marketing the property now during COVID. And how are you going to market my property appropriately? What's the tours going to look like? I've shown them those Matterports before. You're familiar with those, right?
Matterport, sure. Matterport.
For
Excellent.
me, right. But here's the thing. It doesn't really give you that walkthrough experience, very fluid walkthrough experience always. Sometimes it's a little bit choppy. And I want that buyer that's coming in, that potential buyer that's coming in, to feel like they really experience the home. So for me going in, I want to focus a lot, obviously, on photography as always. There's never a more important time than to have great quality photography right now. And secondly, that virtual tour needs to be a really quality walkthrough, whether your seller is giving the tour, whether it's first person, whether your agent has the ability to access it.
They do.
Yeah, exactly. None of that. Yeah. Yeah. No, I want a professional videographer in there walking through that home to give you the experience and all the features, everything, central vac, refrigerators, utilities. I want everything. I don't want I need a thorough tour, because you're going to get a lot of questions now. People are going to be
How
asking
long do you think that tour is going to be, depending on the size of the house?
Well, listen, you can cut something like that down. You want to keep everyone's attention. So you cut something like that down, that tour to 5 minutes or less. But if somebody says, hey, listen, what's the list of features here? I want to be able to send over to them so that we don't have to go back and double check on the boiler. We don't have to go back and double check on what the exterior looks like, whether or not the pool has a loop block cover. I want everything covered in that, and I'll cut it up and present that to people with a list of features, a walkthrough, whatever it be. But that's really the concerns that they have. They want to know that someone coming in isn't so old-fashioned that they're going to have a list it and leave it approach. Because in today's market, a list it and leave it approach is not going to sell properties. You have to be creative and you have to be compliant.
Are you talking about the fantasy television show?
Right, exactly. Yeah, well, that's a good example.
You mean the one that I see where the real estate agent supposedly sells the house within the hour of that program?
I don't know how it's done. I'd love to learn, but yeah, no.
So would I.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
So we talked about the post-COVID environment.
Yeah.
We'll probably cover even more topics in the future.
Yeah.
Any last minute thoughts on? Oh, wait! My famous question. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I kind of screwed up almost at the end here.
Okay.
Law of agency.
Yeah.
Old car. Obedience, loyalty, disclosure, confidentiality, accountability, and reasonable care.
Mm-hmm.
I know they're all important.
Sure.
And this is our fiduciary duties to our clients in a listing. Which one is your favorite if you had to pick a favorite? I know you have all of them, but I'm asking you, pick one that stands out in your mind that is probably something that you as Michael Alexander live by on a listing presentation, and you really firmly believe that this is the one that stands out.
Loyalty, definitely. The others are, like you said, they're all important in their own regard. But for me, loyalty is absolutely the most important.
Why?
That's the best way for you to be able to get the job done. I mean, I'm an extension of the seller, so and my fiduciary is to them. So in line with everything else that you've just laid out, my number one priority is to be loyal to the seller. And I feel like it behooves me not to be loyal to the seller. I don't get involved in any conversations with the other side that would ever risk any kind of loyalty to my client. So we work in that way, and that's you're a loyal listing agent, and everything else will fall in line for sure.
What is some last minute advice you want to give to the person that's looking at this, who wants to be that lister, who wants to be that number one agent?
Yeah, I'd say, how about something for the times right now, right? You know, you have buyers and you have sellers who are nervous about the future. They don't know if they want to sell. Many listings came on, and some of them are holding on to these listings. We need inventory, right? So while people are saying, "Hey, man, it's a really tough market to get listings," why don't you, as the new agent, get out there and make an impact on your community? Focus on something that's small. I don't care if it's 100 homes, 250 homes, whatever it is. Don't spread yourself too thin. Have an impact on those 250 homes. Grassroots approach. Flyers in mailboxes, door knocking, whatever it is that you're allowed to do. Make those relationships within the community that you live and work, and you're going to see some tremendous returns. And that's where I would really start my business. Focus on a short niche, and you'll build out from there. And that's the best advice I can give anybody. And that's what I'm going to do today.
Awesome. Well, listen, I want to thank you, my former student, now broker, owner.
Yep.
And you really have risen to the top in my eyes, and I really am proud of you. I have watched you all throughout your career. It's amazing. Yeah. And I want to thank you for being on this program. I want you guys out there to have maybe rewind this and listen to it again and again, because this is the best advice for growing your business. This is Joe Sonona with Sonona Speak Seminars, Coffee Talk. And I want to thank you, Mike, for being on this program. And I look forward to seeing more and more of your signs all over Suffolk County.
Of course, Joe. And thank you. I couldn't have done it without you. And thank you for your time. I really enjoyed the program and appreciate that you had me on.
Thank you very much. Take care, everybody.
All right. Be good.
Bye-bye.